That's the real Tray Deee.
I didn't know that.
That's the real Tray Deee.
10 times out of 10.
Q, yeah. So we told Dre, hey, we finna beat up TQ tonight because he was taking our time slot where he was coming in. I think he paid to go on tour. You know what I'm saying? So when he was doing his time, the audience was packed, but he was an R&B singer. I think it was in New York. We came out on his set. So Dre started telling us, hey, you gonna come out the liquor store at this point. He started organizing, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So he made it to a way to where we was gonna come out on his set. That would have been dope, but it got took off.
Actually facing 122 years.
122 years.
Yes, for gang. I was facing 50 years on gang allegations alone, and that's a charge they have for gang members.
For more than 10 years, Tracy Lamar Davis, the world knew him as Big Tray Deee, wasn't just another rapper. He was hip-hop royalty. He moved as a platinum-selling group member, a Dr. Dre collaborator, and a respected OG from the Insane Crips with credibility nobody dared question. He never pretended for cameras. Everything he rapped about came from real life. But drama found him early after a street clash in 2003 that ended with an attempted murder conviction and a 12-year prison sentence. Later, things got even messier when he got tangled in a money fight with Snoop Dogg over royalties, a situation that sparked whispers of betrayal inside Tha East Sidas and had people talking non-stop. One minute he was in the studio working, and the next he was caught in rumor storms that made the streets wonder what really went down. So how did someone this powerful end up becoming hip-hop's forgotten titan? Let's break it down. Before Big Tray Deee ever touched platinum plaques, he was simply Tracy Lamar Davis, a kid shaped by the real streets of Long Beach, California. Born April 27, 1966, Tray Deee grew up where loyalty, reputation, and survival weren't just ideas. They were rules you followed every single day. He wasn't out here acting hard. He lived that tough life on a 24-hour schedule, earning his name as an OG Insane Crip with solid respect. By the time he grabbed a microphone, life had already tested him in every way. He handled problems straight up and had no tolerance for anyone showing betrayal or weakness. That raw authenticity became his real power, in the neighborhood and in the music game. And everybody who crossed paths with him felt it. The same street code that made Tray Deee so respected also pushed him straight toward disaster. In November 2003, a shooting in Long Beach led to his arrest, and prosecutors came at him with a shocking request: 122 years behind bars. They charged him with attempted murder, assault with a semi-automatic weapon, and illegal gun possession, all tied to his gang ties, even though nobody was hit during that confrontation. It felt like they were trying to erase him forever, showing how extreme the system could get toward anyone connected to gang life in Los Angeles County. But this situation didn't just appear out of nowhere. The roots ran deep. Tray Deee had helped create Tha East Sidas with Snoop Dogg and Goldie Locke, forming a rare bridge between the Insane Crips and the Rollin' 20s Crips. Their teamwork brought in major success, 1 platinum album and 1 gold. But behind the scenes, tension was heating up. Tray Deee later said he was cut out of more than $1 million in royalties, while the group only received a small advance. Things got even more wild when Snoop's camp supposedly charged the group for the gold chains they wore in a music video, claiming they were gifts but then treating them as business expenses. That move shocked everyone involved and left Tray Deee feeling disrespected. He spent nearly 2 years trying to settle everything peacefully, but when the talks went nowhere, he pulled up to Snoop's house to confront him. Tray Deee said Snoop ran out of the house and jumped into his truck, which only made the situation even more tense. And the very next day, things exploded. Reports say Snoop's associates fired first, and Tray Deee fired back. That one encounter became the core of the Long Beach charges, destroying the fragile unity the East Sidas had built between their sets, with mandatory minimum sentencing, leaving almost no room for negotiation. Tray Deee faced the real possibility of spending the rest of his life locked up. To avoid the 122-year nightmare, he accepted a plea deal in 2005, 12 years for attempted murder. That sentence stopped everything instantly. His rising career, his momentum, his place in hip-hop, all frozen during his prime. Even before he went to prison, Tray Dee's name was built on how he handled conflict, moving between respected artist and street enforcer, and now that same reputation had pushed him into the toughest chapter of his life. Tray Dee moved like a mediator and a protector of the street code, handling situations face-to-face instead of hiding behind security teams or keeping distance. His realness was his badge of honor in Long Beach and all across the West Coast rap world. People saw him as one of the most genuine street figures around, someone whose word mattered and whose loyalty stayed solid no matter the situation. That reputation didn't appear out of thin air. It was built through high-pressure moments, including one major incident in 2001 during the filming of Baby Boy. A conflict broke out between Tray Dee and San Diego rapper Gio Felony after Gio got upset with Snoop Dogg about the use of the phrase "crip hop," and the tension jumped up fast. Tray Dee first thought about letting the situation play out without stepping in, but once Snoop swung the first punch, Tray Dee and his squad of 16 Long Beach members instantly backed him up. After the fight cooled down, Tray Dee switched roles completely. Instead of letting things spiral into a huge street feud, he acted as the peacemaker and reached out directly to Gio Felony to shut the situation down. Pulling off that truce showed he wasn't just a fighter. He had the influence and calm to keep something small from turning into an all-out war. Another moment that revealed his sense of respect happened during Dr. Dre's Up in Smoke tour in 2000. The Eastside Eyes were supposed to perform right after R&B singer TQ, and Tray Dee felt like the lineup spot was disrespectful. Instead of letting it slide, he pressed the tour organizers and made the call to remove the group from the tour altogether. There was no violence, but the move showed exactly how serious he was about respect, even when it meant walking away from major exposure. Even after serving his time, Tray Dee kept the same code. Around 2017, at one of Snoop Dogg's parties, he spotted a known informant trying to blend in with respected OGs, and he stepped forward to remind the man that no snitches belong around real street veterans. The informant reportedly threw a surprise punch that knocked Tray Dee into a pool, but Tray Dee got up without losing his cool, showing that not even age or fame could shake his principles. The moment became another example of how he stood firm on loyalty and integrity every time. These episodes show clearly that Tray Dee's life and career were always tied to his position as a guardian of respect and street rules. He wasn't just a rapper and wasn't just tied to the streets. He was someone whose choices could either spark a conflict or stop one before it got out of hand. That double identity, artist and enforcer of unwritten codes, shaped his path in the music industry, defined the connections he built, and hinted at the obstacles waiting for him once he entered prison. Tray Dee's ability to move smoothly between two worlds made him stand out in a way most artists never could. He could drop a verse on a platinum record, hit a worldwide stage, then walk right back into a neighborhood dispute and still get full respect. His reputation as both an enforcer and a mediator wasn't inherited or borrowed. It was earned through years of pressure, conflict, and choices that proved he lived by the same code he spoke about on and off the mic. By the mid-90s, his street-solid reputation flowed straight into West Coast hip-hop, right when Long Beach was becoming one of the loudest voices in gangsta rap. Tray Dee stood right in the center of that movement, and because he stayed loyal to the Crip code while keeping his music real, he naturally became the bridge between the block and the booth. Both the hood and the industry respected him because he understood both sides without switching up. His professional journey kicked off in 1994, right as Snoop Doggy Dogg and Death Row Records were blowing up. Tray Dee landed on Snoop's Murder Was the Case soundtrack with the track 21 Jump Street, showing instantly that his bars weren't fictional. They were coming from real experiences. Soon after, he popped up on Thaw Dog Pound's 1995 album Dog Food on the track Reality, and kept the momentum going with features on Snoop's Thaw Dog Father and multiple big-name soundtracks like Gridlocked and Flicks and Sticks. Each move built his name as someone who didn't need to exaggerate the street life because he actually lived it. Being close to Snoop also put Tray Dee right inside the complicated world of gang-heavy rap during that era. He saw the tension between Death Row and Bad Boy up close, being around events where threats were thrown and confrontations could break out at any moment. He didn't always jump in, but he understood everything. Every rule, every expectation, every unspoken line you weren't supposed to cross. He knew reputation meant everything, and loyalty was tested non-stop. Watching tough figures like Nate Dogg and Corrupt handle situations helped Tray Deee shape his own approach, mixing force with strategy in a way that earned him serious respect. What really elevated Tray Deee above his peers was how easily he moved between the street reality he came from and the studio world he stepped into. Lots of artists struggled to balance those environments, but he handled both like second nature. He kept his authenticity intact while learning how to operate inside the industry, proving he could adapt without losing who he was. Tray Deee had been writing rhymes since 1988, and to him, rap was more than a hobby. It was a way to express himself, survive, and build a name that meant something. His art gave him opportunity, but it also gave him another way to show that his credibility came from truth, not storytelling. Tray Deee realized early on that the street life alone didn't offer much long-term stability, but he still refused to bend his integrity just to fit into the music industry's expectations. That blend of real-life experience, smart alliances, and sharp lyrical talent set him up perfectly for the major breakthrough he would hit with Tha Eastsidaz in the late 90s. By then, he wasn't just a respected voice on tracks. He was someone who could shape alliances, cool down heated situations, and represent Long Beach with serious authority. As the 2000s approached, Tray Dee's path shifted from being a strong collaborator to becoming a true commercial force. His street credibility and industry connections all came together with the creation of Tha Eastsidaz, a supergroup that crafted a signature West Coast sound. Working alongside Snoop Dogg and Goldie Locke, Tray Deee helped build music that mixed raw street truth with a style that still caught mainstream attention. Fans who loved street-heavy rap and listeners from wider audiences both connected with what they created. Their debut album, Snoop Dogg Presents The Eastsidaz 2000, became a major hit, earning platinum status. Their follow-up, Deuces and Trays, The Old-Fashioned Way, 2001, went gold and cemented their place in hip-hop history, but their influence went far beyond album sales. The group represented a rare and delicate unity between Long Beach Cripsets that had a long history of conflict. Every move they made, from tours to music videos, was tied to maintaining that fragile alliance. Tray Dee's reach didn't stop there. When Dr. Dre recognized his authenticity in 1999, he brought Tray Deee onto the intro of 2001, letting him be the first voice people heard on an album that went on to sell more than 12 million copies worldwide. That moment wasn't just about fame. It was Dre showing the world that Tray Dee's raw, street-earned talent deserved to stand alongside the top-tier artists of the genre. The Eastsidaz soon took their movement overseas, touring across Europe and Asia. Crowds in places like Japan and Germany rapped their lyrics word for word, even with cultural and language differences. Watching fans from across the globe shout their verses with full energy showed Tray Deee how far authentic West Coast storytelling could travel. Their music wasn't just entertainment, it became a cultural export, carrying Long Beach's reality to audiences thousands of miles away. While Tha Eastsidaz were taking over the charts, Tray Deee kept pushing forward with his own solo grind. He showed he could stand strong even without the group, dropping his compilation album The General's List in 2002, a project that highlighted his sharp wordplay and street-smart storytelling with serious impact. Every track proved he was one of the strongest voices on the West Coast, able to hold his own on any beat and in any room. Even with his name rising fast, Tray Deee stayed focused and disciplined. Every feature, every verse, every stage appearance felt like a direct reflection of who he was and the Long Beach community he represented. But as his influence grew, the pressures around him grew too. Money disputes popped up, loyalty got tested, and even people close to him started showing cracks. When you're juggling music, global tours, and street expectations all at once, one wrong step can wipe out everything. And Tray Deee was living right in that pressure zone. It was during this period, right after hitting the height of his commercial success, that the problems leading to his legal downfall started coming together. The platinum records, the world tours, and the Dr. Dre cosign were the kind of achievements most artists dream about. But for Tray Deee, they also marked the beginning of a tough chapter. Even at the peak of fame, he still dealt with the same harsh realities he always faced. Loyalty being questioned, alliances staying fragile, and the streets watching closely. Then in early 2005, everything shifted in an instant. Tray Deee went from global stages to the reality of the California prison system after being convicted of attempted murder connected to the 2003 Long Beach incident. He began serving a 12-year sentence at the California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo, stepping into a world completely different from the fast pace of the industry. That confinement wasn't just about losing freedom. It disrupted the rhythm of his entire life. His music career paused, his structure changed, and even his identity was challenged. The harsh mandatory minimum laws meant that even though the original charges threatened him with 122 years, the 12-year plea deal was still incredibly heavy. It showed how one moment, especially when tied to gang affiliation, could overshadow years of success and growth. The system didn't care about nuance. It treated street identity as guilt by default. But prison didn't break Tray Deee. It became a place where he rebuilt himself. He approached incarceration with discipline and treated it like a test of strength instead of a final defeat. During his time inside, he converted to Islam, finding focus and structure in his spiritual practice. The faith gave him clarity, helping him balance the two sides of his life: the pull of the streets and the ambition of leaving behind a real artistic legacy. It also gave him new accountability, a way to handle conflict without repeating old mistakes. Even behind the walls, Tray Deee refused to disappear. His mind stayed sharp, his spirit stayed steady, and he held on to his identity without letting the situation define him. Inside those prison walls, Tray Deee refused to sit still. He poured his energy into writing, releasing 2 full novels, Streets Gone Cry, 2012, and Los Angeles Tamez, Urban Tales, 2013. These books showed a level of storytelling few expected from someone locked up, proving he had real literary talent that reached far beyond rap. And even with all the limits around him, music stayed at the center of who he was. Tray Deee recorded Long Beach State of Mind Volume 1, a mixtape made on a smartphone inside his cell, using blankets and cardboard boxes to create makeshift soundproofing. That kind of creativity kept his voice alive outside the prison walls, letting fans and collaborators know he was still here and still contributing to the West Coast movement. Even behind bars, he found a way to make sure nobody forgot his presence. Prison also gave him long hours to reflect on the choices, loyalties, and pressures that led him to that moment. He looked back at everything, not just with regret, but with strategy, figuring out how to move smarter once he got free. By the time his release date hit in April 2014, Tray Deee had sharpened his mindset, strengthened his faith, and built up new creative material that would fuel his return. His time inside ended up becoming something deeper than just a punishment. It was a transformation. It showed that even without stages, cameras, or cheering fans, his discipline, his faith, and his dedication to his craft stayed unshaken. Prison could hold his body, but it couldn't shut down his mind, his voice, or his vision. After nearly 9 years behind bars, April 2014 became a huge turning point. The same man who recorded a mixtape in a prison cell and embraced Islam for focus and structure was finally stepping back into the world. But the world wasn't the same. The streets had changed, the industry had shifted, and a whole new wave of artists had taken over. Still, Tray Deee entered this new chapter with the same realness and determination that always defined him. He didn't waste a second. He jumped right back into the music grind, knowing that staying relevant required consistency, hunger, and fresh ideas. One of his first major moves was launching his own label, Supreme Circle Music Group, setting the stage for his comeback and giving himself full control over his next era. Between 2016 and 2023, Tray Deee used Supreme Circle Music Group as the engine for his solo work and major collaborations. During this run, he dropped several projects: The Third Coming, The General's List 2, The Certified Project, and Malice. Each release carried pieces of his journey, blending his real-life experiences with the wisdom he gained behind bars. Every track reflected resilience, loyalty, and a raw, unfiltered look at the streets that only someone who truly lived it could express. Collaboration played a huge role in his comeback, too. Tray Deee linked up with Thaw Chill, Corrupt, and Weasel Lock to form the supergroup Dear T.O.G.Z., delivering the album We Got Now and Next in 2016. The project showed he could still command attention while sharing the spotlight with other heavyweights, proving his influence remained solid. Even as hip-hop kept shifting with new styles and new faces, his voice stayed authentic, connecting the OG wave with younger generations. One of the most powerful moments in his return was his reunion with Ta Eastsidaz. Years of tension, legal drama, and personal issues had nearly destroyed their connection. But Tray Deee and Snoop Dogg managed to rebuild their professional relationship even while Tray Deee was still locked up. By 2014, the trio was back on stage together in places like Fresno and Inglewood, showing fans that the bond wasn't completely gone. Their comeback reached a new level in 2024 when they released Still Easty, their first group project in more than 20 years. This wasn't just a throwback moment, it was a statement. It showed that respect, shared history, and unity could survive conflict, distance, and the passing of time. It proved that their connection held something deeper than old disagreements. Yet even with new albums, reunions, and non-stop touring, Big Tray Deee still doesn't get the full recognition he deserves in the larger hip-hop world. His time away created a gap, leaving a generation that didn't fully see his influence or understand the role he played in shaping West Coast culture. Still, his impact remains undeniable, even if the spotlight hasn't always matched his legacy. Despite everything Tray Deee accomplished, the platinum plaques, the global tours, the loyalty he upheld, and the streets he represented, the world still hasn't fully given him his flowers. His legacy sits in a strange place where the real ones know exactly who he is, but the mainstream crowd barely understands the weight he carried. And the truth is, a lot of that came from the years he spent locked away right when hip-hop was shifting into a new era. When Tray Deee came home in 2014, the scene looked completely different. A new wave of artists had taken over. Younger fans were glued to social media stars, and the industry pushed a softer, more commercial sound. Meanwhile, Tray Deee came back with his original energy, sharp, grounded, and tied to real experiences. That kind of authenticity didn't always fit neatly into the playlist that labels were pushing, so his impact slipped under the radar for people who weren't around during his rise. But the streets never forgot him. Anyone who was connected to West Coast culture knew exactly how much he shaped the sound, the movement, and the attitude of Long Beach hip-hop. Artists who came years after him still credit him as one of the voices who set the tone. His name carried weight in conversations about respect, loyalty, and staying true to your roots, even when you're navigating a music world that tries to pull you in every direction. What makes Tray Dee's story even more powerful is how he kept pushing forward even without the mainstream spotlight. While some artists chased trends to stay relevant, Tray Deee stuck to the core of who he was. He released projects independently, mentored rising talent, and kept his voice strong in every collab, every interview, and every performance. He moved like someone who understood that legacy isn't measured only by charts. It's measured by consistency, impact, and the respect earned from both the streets and the industry. And even now, Tray Deee continues to fight for his place in a culture he helped build. He's still active, still creating, still showing up with the same grounded presence he had since day one. His story isn't about fading away. It's about surviving the hardest chapters and still standing with purpose. His journey proves that sometimes the most influential figures are the ones who stayed solid long before the cameras arrived and kept going long after they left. Unlike some artists who stayed in the spotlight nonstop, Tray Dee's 9 years behind bars cut his momentum hard, creating a silence that the industry quickly filled with new faces, and the early financial moves that pushed him into conflict with Snoop Dogg made it even tougher for him to fully reap the rewards of his earlier success. But even with all of that, his fingerprints are still all over West Coast rap. The cadence, the raw honesty, the loyalty to a personal code. You can hear pieces of Tray Dee's style in the generation that came after him. His journey became a story of survival, transformation, and fierce determination. From the streets of Long Beach to stages across the world, from concrete prison yards to late-night studio sessions, Tray Deee proved that real influence can't be measured by charts or shiny awards. It comes from authenticity, impact, and the ability to get back up every single time life knocks you down. His story forces people to look deeper, to think about the unseen weight of loyalty, the cost of ambition, and the pressure of street rules that don't disappear just because success arrives. Big Tray Dee's legacy isn't finished, but it's already powerful. In a time where trends come and go fast, he stands as proof that staying real and staying strong lasts longer than any moment of hype. For the ones who truly understand his journey, Tray Deee was never a forgotten titan. He's a living symbol of resilience, loyalty, and the voice of Long Beach that refuses to fade. If you vibed with this breakdown, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.